you. Take one.
To ask first, when did you first feel that you had a passion or interest for wanting to pursue mountaineering as a hobby?
Well, I've always been quite a sporty person. So when someone offered me the opportunity to go to Everest, I thought, can't miss out on this. It wasn't something that was on my bucket list, but when it was sort of presented, it was kind of like, well, if I don't do it now, I'll never do it. So I thought, I'm going to take this chance and go for it.
Going back, what was the first ever mountain or hill or rock face that you can remember climbing at the start of your journey?
There wasn't anything in particular that sort of led me to do the Everest thing. It wasn't as though I had an interest in mountaineering or anything before. I just like pushing myself.
Yeah.
So I've done lots of things, lots of triathlons and half marathons, etc., parachute jumps, bungee jumps. So it was kind of almost like an evolution of pushing myself.
Yeah, I wanted to try new things and pushing yourself further.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, as I say, when somebody presents you with an opportunity to go to the top of the world, you have to give it some thought and then go, sod it, I'm going to go for it.
Talking about Everest, how did you first get the opportunity in the first place? So did anyone approach you, or how did it kind of work? How was the process of getting to Everest from where you were at when you first got offered it?
Okay, so New Year's Eve 2018, and I was at a party and some friends were talking about the fact that they'd been to Everest, which was a complete surprise to me and some other friends. So when they said it's not as hard as you think to organise, it's hard to do, but it's a lot easier than you think to organise and a lot more achievable from a financial point of view than you imagine. That kind of set the tone for us to start talking about it. And then we did our homework throughout January and phoned directly through to your Sherpa as such. And he gave us the guidance on how to book it, how to sort of book him, and all the paperwork that has to sort of be done to get yourself over there. And then he meets you at the airport and off you go.
Nice. So it's more simpler than you thought it was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very much.
When climbing Everest, was there any challenges that you faced? Or any problems that you had to work around?
Every day.
Every day.
Every single day. It's hard to explain how it feels. The best way I've put it is imagine doing the hardest workout you've ever done at whatever level you're at, and then being told that you've got to continue for 5 to 8 hours doing that constantly through the day.
Mm.
That's how hard it is. It's not that it's a trek as opposed to a climb. So, and a trek can be sort of described as a very long, arduous walk. You're walking along a path that's probably 10 feet wide, and to your right, it's a drop of about 500 feet where you're going to die if you go off the edge. There's no barrier. And you've got, on the other side, you've got a mountain going up, and you can't escape. So when the yaks come at you, as they do down the path, carrying things, you've got to get out their way. If you're on the wrong side of the path, you've had it.
Yeah.
So we had a situation where you have to go over, I think, 7 or 8 suspension bridges, which are really narrow. And we got over, apart from one of our group who was really into his photography, and he got caught trapped by a herd of donkeys coming the other way.
Oh, wow.
And you think, oh, yeah, it's nothing, you'll just get by them. But it wasn't wide enough to get by them. And this, imagine chicken wire being your fence that's keeping you in. And he was getting pushed through this chicken wire. And if it wasn't for the fact that the guy that was herding the donkeys saw him at the last minute, he'd be dead.
Wow.
So, and he got off, and all he could say was, "Did you get a photo?" And we were like, "No, because we thought you were going to die, mate." So it's scary.
Yeah, it's very intense then.
It's extremely intense, yeah. So you can kill yourself every single day, as long as you're sensible.
Yeah.
So
With that point, as you were working through Everest and climbing it, were there any thoughts of thinking like, oh, I might not make it, or should we go back? Or did you have the whole goal in mind of that you wanted to get to the top and you wanted to get to the place where you wanted to be?
it's almost with every step, it's a challenge. It's psychological as well, because it's not an uphill trek all the way. It's kind of up and then down and then up and then down. And it's so hard to gain elevation because the oxygen levels in the atmosphere are a lot thinner than they are where we are. To give you an example of how high it is, if you imagine the Eiffel Tower, it's 17 times the height of the Eiffel Tower. That's ground level. So the oxygen is really thin up there, and it goes down to, I think, about 70% of what we normally breathe. So to put one foot in front of the other is hard work.
Yeah.
And it's a drag, and you've got to do it for somewhere between 5 and 8 hours per day, depending on what part of the journey you're on. So to gain loads of elevation and then suddenly be told that the next bit's downhill, you kind of think, well, that's great, but that means I've got to come back uphill. So there are days when it really plays with your mind and you're thinking, why the hell am I doing this? Yeah. But you just got to keep going. You got to keep going, one step in front of the other.
Doing Everest, does it maybe have any thoughts of wanting to do something similar? Maybe not to the same extent as Everest, but just something in mountain climbing?
Yeah, there are a few things that I would like to do. It's hard though, because when you've been to Everest, it's like, well, where do you go next?
Yeah.
So we kind of tick the big one off first, and then it's like, okay, what should we do next? So we're trying to sort of, not that I want to kill myself, but we're trying to think of what are we going to do next?
Yeah.
So, and then obviously COVID's come around, so no one's really done anything. But there'll come a point where we find that next thing, but not quite sure what it is yet.
Yeah.
As long as it's not underground, I'll be fine.
Moving away from that, as we know, you're a freelance seller.
Mm-hmm.
In pursuing this line of work, what first interested you at the start that made you want to pursue marketing or wanted to provide help and guidance for other people and their businesses?
I think it's just wanting to help people. A lot of people start their journey of running a business knowing what they know and doing what they do. They don't realise that at some point they need to get new business. And they might not be very good at talking to people, going to networking dues, marketing their business, whether online or in person. So to have someone like me that can learn what they can do and then sell it for them is of interest to a lot of people.
Yeah. How did you first get the skills to do that? Did you go to any higher educations to learn, or were you self-taught?
To be honest, I didn't. I did a year of sixth form at Cartley Willows, which is where I'm from, over that way. And I found that I wasn't enjoying it. I got out of the sort of the school way, so to speak. It's very different to what it is now. And I just wanted to go and work and earn some money. So I threw myself into a sales job, and then found that I enjoyed it and thought, yeah, I can do this. It's completely changed now. It used to be a case of driving to an industrial park and going and knocking on doors.
Yeah.
Now it's all about networking. So it's why it's called networking. I don't know, when it's not really work, it's just meeting people. Yeah. So as long as you can talk and listen, vitally important, it's straightforward.
As you also know, as you've advertised on social media on your sites, you have 32 years of sales and networking experience under your belt. And with that time, you've been a sales director, you've been a managing director, and you've worked in print sales. Keeping that all in mind, is there any big challenges, or is there any things that you face in those job roles that you had to get around? Have you faced anything in your line of work that you had to learn to get around, or has there been any big challenges?
Biggest challenge has been taking on staff, because you do what you do and you do it to the best of your knowledge. It's hard to bring somebody in that doesn't have the same mindset as you. So you have to sort of flex. Doing the job is one thing,
Yeah.
but you have to sort of flex your mind around them being them and learning what they're good at and helping them bring that out more, as opposed to just forcing your way on people. It's not like The Apprentice where you're told to do something. If you don't do it, you're fired. You've got to learn to work with these people to get the best out of them. And, you treat somebody well, they'll treat you well. They'll do the job properly, which is exactly what you want. So, yeah, taking on staff, really hard.
If you could look back on your history of work and what you have done so far, would you say that you feel successful in what you have achieved? Is there anything in particular that you're proud of, or that you feel good in helping someone in, maybe a business or?
I've done a few, from a jobs point of view, I've done a few jobs which are still in town, like big signs that I put up there. So every time I pass them, I kind of have to point at them and go, I did that, that kind of thing. Although all I did was sell it, other people put it up.
Yeah.
So that's a good one. Doing stuff for radio companies, physical things that were all over the radio. So from a media point of view, they were quite successful and getting sort of the accolades for that. But I think sort of linking that in with the previous question, bringing people on who thought they were really good at something, but then giving them the skills to do something else. So they've developed.
Yeah.
So I would say that staff is the hardest thing, but also one of the most rewarding, seeing people do well.
Seeing people develop and get their ideas out there.
Exactly. And giving customers a good service, seeing a small customer grow to being a bigger customer, a better customer, and that company doing well as well.
Yeah.
It's not just about the money. You want to see that your efforts and your ideas are being put into fruition and are working.
Yeah, that's great. If we could now maybe look forward into the future, what the future could look like for you and your line of work, is there anything that you would want to achieve or would like to do in the near future that you haven't been able to do already?
I'd like to, and now I've moved sort of to North Notts, I'd like to do something up this way in my line of work, which, you talk about sales, but it's more a marketing. You've got print and signage and social media and websites, clothing, all those things where you can put a brand on something. There's one big player in Mansfield, which is Linny's. And I don't want to have a company as big as Linny's, but I would just like to sort of maybe follow in their footsteps a little.
Yeah.
So to have some sort of organization with 10, 20 staff. So it's quite a fortuitous time because today is day one of that new venture.
Yeah.
So I've been busy this morning networking and getting the word out there. So I'm keen to sort of do something up this way and not give them a run for the money, but just be another a sort of player in that industry in Mansfield. That's one of my plans.
Yeah. Be the same be similar to them, not exactly them, but have the same.
Yeah. They've got sort of their own site. I'm sure you probably know them.
Yeah.
Their own site with hundreds of staff. So if I can achieve 10% of what they've done, I'll be very happy.
Yeah, I hope you all the best in that.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Before we go, is there any advice that you feel like you could share to people who would like to follow in your footsteps?
Yeah.
Who are thinking of wanting to pursue business or marketing? Have you got any advice for those people who would like to be in a similar position to you?
Yeah. Well, firstly, if anyone's thinking of going to Everest, do it. Yeah, it is amazing. Absolutely. The words can't put it sort of into a picture. You can't sort of explain how amazing it is. So if anyone's even considering it, do it.
Yeah.
From a business point of view, get yourself out there, push yourself beyond your limits. That's one of the things that I learned. That was my connection between Everest and business, is push yourself. If you think you can do it, you're right, you can. If you don't push yourself, you won't make it. So if you want to do something, you go for it. Creative world is fantastic. It's great, as I alluded to in a previous question, it's great to see your work in real life on the side of a building, or I did a massive sign for a radio station on the side of a haystack.
Oh, no.
Sounds silly. It was supposed to last 2 months for a little show they were doing. It lasted 6 months.
Oh, wow.
And people were talking about it all the time. So it's a great thing to do. But to see your work in real life.
Yeah, to be physically there.
Yes, to be physically there from something, just an idea. I came up with a stupid idea and they went, yeah, let's do it. And it was like, oh, okay. But to see it in real life is amazing. So if you want to do something like that, then I've got lots of contacts in the industry. So if anybody wanted sort of like any connections, then I'm happy to help out. And it'd be great to see some people getting. I'm sure there's lots of people getting into it, but anyone I can help, I'm more than willing to.
Yeah, it'd be great to see people succeed and get their actual idea and vision manifested into something physical.
Absolutely.
Well, that's great. That's all the questions we have, and it's been great talking to you.
Yeah, you too. Thank you very much. I enjoyed it. Thank you.